All right, here we go. We're back to podcasting. As soon as
We
I
did
can
it.
change
We
the
did it.
scene.
We're podcast.
Okay, what episode are we on? I
Look,
already
oh no,
forget.
hand.
Number 28.
28.
Yeah, 28. How
Is
you
it?
guys doing?
Hasn't been that many. My
Yeah.
goodness.
How you guys doing? It's been a while since we've done this.
I'm wonderful.
Yeah.
I am just splendid.
So we've got Snazzy, Eat Your Meats, and Highly and Pickles. Everybody say hello. Oh, I didn't tell everybody in our Discord that we're there. I knew I forgot something.
Didn't
we're
send
live.
out the going live tweet.
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
Like the tweet's good. Let's kind of
That's
start
a-
this over.
It's a cardinal sin.
We're starting it. Okay, I'm gonna retweet the tweet, the Twitter as well, probably.
There's already a tweet. That's in the other general chat of IQ. Yeah. Let me just link the actual stream. That would be
Yeah, that'd be fun.
a good one.
How does this all work?
How do you do this thing? This broadcasting thing? All right.
It's funny, you don't podcast for like a week and suddenly you've forgotten everything.
It's been like 2 weeks or something, right?
Actually, it has been like 2
It's been a
weeks.
while. So. Okay, so welcome to podcast episode number 28. Here's our official beginning. Today we're going to be talking about expectations as a streamer. This is this is kind of one where I'm going to bear a little bit of myself and be a little bit embarrassed and kind of self-conscious and admit some things that are
So an intervention?
difficult. No, I don't need the intervention. I would have needed the intervention probably originally, but a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is actually going to come from a bit of personal experience. And I kind of, so I don't know. I'm an N of one, so it's not going to be like the end of the, discussion. And I'm sure there's going to be some varied perspectives for the situation. But I think we need to start with something that's come up recently in the IQ Discord. And this was actually, I kind of had this attitude myself when I first started streaming. I first started streaming. I'm just going to go with a little bit of a story to give us all context.
Story time with Sunny.
Yeah. I first started streaming, and my relationship at the time was actually involved with the stream. So my partner and we decided to stream together, and I was like, we really got to make this work. I was really invested, and that made it feel even more important. And so I was like, I'm going to put together a whole like marketing and branding package and this whole, and we're gonna make a Patreon, and we'll make a video, and we really went all out to try and like advertise that we need support. It was an advertise that we needed people to come watch the stream and support, and the people that we knew that we felt like we could reach out to. And we put a lot of effort. We made like a song. We like wrote a song and recorded it, and we did all kinds of crazy stuff. And we felt like there was this massive pressure to be successful very quickly. So, we put together like a campaign basically to ask all of our family and friends to come watch the stream. And like, we needed them there to like have the stream open. We were on a schedule, just be there and support us. And that turned into a pile of difficulties very quickly, emotionally, for both of us. It was complicated because now we had this like sticky issue of why is nobody here? We're streaming. We keep telling people that people are aware that we're doing this. There was a lot of the older generation in we were like the younger people in our family, and so like people were not quite used, I guess, to like we expected people who don't use the internet the way we do to use the internet the way we do. Just have our stream open. How hard is that? Just go to our stream, open our stream.
Yeah. Tab.
Not a one-to-one translation at all for that. People. I've had this issue my whole life. I can get really personal on this. I don't want to go too deep into.
No, dig in. We
Okay.
want to hear it.
It's a sore point for me because I've always, once I graduated high school, all the things I kind of tried to do with my life was like, there was like a massive distance between how my family and the people like supported me when I was like in dramas and stuff and like plays and stuff in high school and middle school, elementary school. And then like now I'm playing shows locally with Jared and Feckless and people, and nobody's showing up to that. It's like I have a band and it's like I really want this band to be successful and my family's not even, they don't even come to those shows. You know, and you play 100 shows and your family never shows up for anything, and it's like it feels weird. So I kind of felt like the redheaded stepchild already. And then, so for me personally, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do this streaming thing. You know, and I'm graduated college. Like it's way later in my life. I'm in my mid to late 30s, and I'm like, this time they'll support because they don't have to go anywhere. They just have to open something on a browser. So I had these expectations. I just set myself up for like massive disappointment and difficulty by hoping to receive the support. I think it's so hard. It's so hard. This is one of the hardest things as a streamer. How you kind of need to have expectations that you're going, if you don't expect to be successful, I mean, that's a really bad place to start as a streamer, right? Like, you kind of need to be like, okay, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to do what it takes to be successful. But then when no one supports you and no one shows up for it, that's hard.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you guys have anything like this when you first started streaming or while you're streaming now?
I actively hid from my family. That
No, there's like the two extremes.
like, come on. I feel like there's like a different so there's expectations of like others and then expectations of yourself, and I feel like having your expectation be like, yes, I can do this, I'm gonna be successful, I can put on a show, right? That's different than having an expectation of well, you know, the parents will show up because they're contractually obligated to support their spawn, you know, I think it's about it's a self-oriented expectations. Those are okay to have. Expect something of yourself, but the minute you're involving other living things into the mix, yeah, you can't predict that, right? You don't know who's going to show up. So I think having expectations is good, but yes, expecting anything of others is in a way a little bit of a trap, right? Because like you think like, oh, it's family, right? They'll definitely show up for at least a few streams. No.
Oh, that's such a bad.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to, and you hope that your family is supportive and like loving and in the position to do that. And I think it hurts. It hurts more because of how simple it is to support a streamer. Like all they have to do is open your stream, right, and lurk. And then
Yeah, but like you said, technology is a thing that the older generation might not exactly.
I know. Yeah.
My mom doesn't know how to text.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't be like, can you
Yeah.
come to my Twitch
Yeah.
stream?
Well,
and watch
you know,
me?
there's that, and then there's the people who do know how to open something in a web browser but don't do it because they just forget about you. So that's where it can become like a sticking point, right? I don't know. I've seen people be like, "How do I do? What do I do? I need to get my viewership up. I want to invite family and friends to support me?" And I think the problem at the beginning is, okay, they may show up once, right? The one successful time this actually worked was I created an event on Facebook for my birthday and did a birthday stream, and that was massive. And I was like, man, if they just always showed up like this, it would be great.
I'd
But
be partner in no time.
you need to actually create like a Facebook event and like drill it into people because people are they're busy with their lives. I was too narcissistic at the time, and too self-centered and oh, this is I felt like I was so egotistical. I felt like I'm the perfect person to be a streamer. I know how to fix everything that has to do with technology, and like I'm a video editor and a producer, a music producer. Like if anybody's gonna be a streamer, it's me. And that's like I think a lot of people feel that way. You can always create a list, no matter who you are, in your head of why you should be successful. And that's actually a really bad place to start because Twitch is so weird and volatile. Streaming in general, like there's streamers out there with 2 viewers that are like incredible streamers, incredible production value, and they're really great personalities, but nobody knows who you are, right? And that's a different problem than like you can be a great streamer and nobody knows. Like you can have a great voice and be amazing at guitar and nobody knows. Like this is a different problem. So your expectations have to be like, you're going to be humbled if you at some point if you come in with the wrong expectations and you stick with it. But I don't know. I think it's probably my advice would be don't invite the world. Just start streaming, get out there and meet people. And then eventually those people that might want to support you will stumble in a more organic and natural way. And it's a much better like moment, right? You're not like, oh, you're finally here. Like you're like, oh, hey, it's nice to see you kind of thing, which is way is mentally healthier. It's better for the stream. So I don't know. I that's kind of where I would start based on my experience.
Honestly, like not having your friends and family there just means there'll be less people to embarrass the hell out of you, because inevitably your family's gonna.
Oh,
say
that's so
some
true.
stuff on
And
stream. You rather wish they didn't.
Yeah, you get people like I think someone saw on Facebook that I was streaming at one point, and they like came in and they're like, "Hey, real name,"
Oh, doxed. Yeah, totally
You're
doxed.
like, no, that's not how this works. So you have to be really careful too if you're trying to like bring people into this world who don't really understand it either.
Yeah.
Is that they don't they'll see Pog getting thrown around and like, what the heck is this? or they'll use your real name or be like, I'm 13 or whatever.
Oh boy. Oh boy,
and,
that's a joke, Twitch.
yeah, and
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like I feel like Twitch is a weird sell for people who are outside of Twitch. You know what I mean?
I even had it back. You just reminded me. I had it backfire even worse. I had friends that were like mad at me for choosing Twitch. They're like literally like came over to my house for a visit and like sat me down, trying to have an intervention. Like, why Twitch? I don't get it. Why Twitch?
What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
What was the rationale here?
That was it. That was their whole thing. They had no way to explain it other than like, isn't Twitch the worst thing in existence? Why are you doing it? They acted like I was choosing like the worst thing with my life ever that they could possibly think of.
There's a lot of misconceptions about what Twitch is. Especially if like Meats was saying, if people who are outside of this world don't really get it as much, right?
Yeah.
If you're not into watching streams, right? Regardless of what platform it's on, like you tell somebody you stream anything, right? They'll be like, "Oh, so you play video games online?" I'm like, "Okay, yes, in theory that's what I'm doing, but like there's a lot more to it, right? There's a lot more to it."
I don't put the effort into explaining it. I'm like, sometimes I play video games in front of friends and they support me and it's fun. And like I try to segregate this pretty strongly. There are a couple people from real life that come in and watch my streams, but for the most part it's definitely a separate world. And I feel like if my mom or like a really good friend of mine stumbled in, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I like having the separate piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that it can't work. Like I have, IRL, AFK, whatever you want to call them, friends who come to the stream and like, but they get it, right? They're younger, savvier.
They're
they
hip.
understand the hip. Yeah, they're hip. They're hip. Right.
What about you?
As far as I don't think my parents have ever watched my stream, and I'm hoping that streak continues.
Yeah. So like, Pickles. What about your experience? When you first started streaming, did you feel like you needed to invite everybody, or
No.
everybody was already here? Is that a better way to look at it? Like your friends were already here, right?
So for me, like when I first started streaming, I knew I was going to be bad at it, so I didn't like really care to invite a bunch of people.
That's a great attitude.
Except
Wow,
for one of my
those
friends.
expectations are real low.
Yeah.
All
the way at the bottom.
One of my real life friends who's a mod on my channel. He was the one that was like kind of like there as I decided to do it, and I don't know, like my parents, if we're talking about managing expectations, like I already know that my parents aren't gonna bother to come do this because like they're they're busy enough as is. They got like 3 kids, and I'm out of the house, so they got other stuff
Yeah.
to take care of, you know.
Yeah.
So it was never like even a thing. They've always just been like, if you have fun and you're good at it, do what you
Yeah.
gotta do, as long as you're being responsible.
I think
So-
it's dangerous because it just created friction between. Because then also, like, my partner at the time, her family was also completely against it. They're like, why are you putting yourself online? Isn't that dangerous? You know, they just saw it as like the scariest thing ever to like be on camera in public. And like they tried to, every time we saw them, it was like they were just trying to convince us to stop. We got letters from people like,
Letters, whoa.
yeah,
My God.
yeah.
Oh,
like,
your
like,
family cares more than mine. No, I
They're
don't think
like,
anyone ever sent me a cease and desist letter.
when are you gonna get on with your life and stop playing video games on the internet? Like that was a letter we got, you know. So you know,
That is
it can,
so cringe.
yeah, it can give you difficulties in straining the relationships because you think, well, this is such a simple thing. Like I'm just gonna hang out, and broadcast, and meet people, and be a streamer. And when they don't get it, they can either be like benign or horribly cancerous and toxic to your relationship. So I would be careful with the family thing for sure. At least for me, it was a really bad idea.
I think it's important to separate those kinds of worlds sometimes. Like if you're whether you're doing this as like a hobby or a career, like you have to consider like you're gonna have your parents involved in it or whatever. You're gonna have your sister involved in it, and you have to, you know, understand what comes along with that, whether that's good or bad.
And you may not understand, you may not even be able to predict. So
Yeah,
just be
yeah,
careful.
exactly. Because you might not even because you probably there are things like Meat said, like somebody just comes in and casually drops your real name. Like that might not have been a thing you considered before that happened, and then it happened, and then
Then it happened.
you don't know what to do about it, you know.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
don't know
boy.
that that's something you don't want to happen.
Okay,
necessarily.
let's move on from the family aspect and move on to a different kind of weakness for streamers that I've seen. A lot of streamers, and this is, I think every streamer eventually has to deal with this. You feel like, why are viewers not coming back, right? Or people disappear, and there's like a viewer turnover. There always will be a viewer turnover. Like some people will just like be there for years and then stop showing up. Viewers. So the expectation that viewers will always be there and always be there when you're live is also a difficult one because that's what we need, right? That you need to start your stream and have every single person who wants you to be successful and support your stream to always be there. Every single time you hit start streaming, you need them there.
They're not allowed to have a life. They're not like anything else. They're supposed to sit at their computer
Main story.
Yeah. Yeah.
waiting.
That's what you need. We need everybody to be there when we're live. And so it can get kind of like in your head. Right? Like how do you guys manage this?
I've trained myself not to take anyone for granted. Like even if it's somebody that I really enjoy and I know that's somebody who will gladly show up to stream. You know, I have a few viewers who are, regulars for lack of a better word. I've just trained myself to be like, no, this is gonna be the stream that they don't show up to. Or actually, even more importantly for me, it's like this is gonna be the last stream they show up to. That's kind of how I think about this. It's a little weird, but like whenever I see somebody, I'll be like, what if this is the last time they show up to stream, or what if they have to travel for a month, right? What if I won't see them for a while? I set my expectations to not rely on those familiar faces for interactive chat content, right?
Yeah.
And I think once you stop thinking of everybody as or some people as, oh, these, I can count on them to show up, it helps you start reaching out and making more connections with other people in chat and more, in a way, more intimately getting to know chat, because you're not just relying on one or two faces out of a crowd to be bouncing your conversation off of. And once you kind of spread out and you're conversing with more people, you're meeting more people on Discord, it gives you more people to then talk to. So if somebody doesn't show up on stream, you have somebody else to talk to. It's like
Yeah.
it's about not taking anyone for granted, and like that's
Yeah.
the most important thing that you could do is just remember, like, anything can happen.
It
they
could
could be
also-
busy that night.
Yeah, something could have happened to them. I mean, it's better to look at it like, wow, like I can't believe you show up so much and you're always here, and and be thankful and have gratitude is really key. But the other side of the coin is like it can also be kind of difficult emotionally when somebody you get really close with your viewers, right? And then they disappear and they don't say anything. They leave your Discord. They're gone, and they were always there, and then they never come back, and that can hurt too. So like this is complicated because it's not just like, oh, I need you to watch. It's like I've developed like a camaraderie, friendship, community. You're a part of my community, and now you're just gone.
What I find actually is one of the hardest things from like an ego and expectations perspective is if you're in someone else's stream and someone that you haven't seen in your stream for a really long time is hanging out, and you're like, oh hey,
Oh, yeah, that's
I
a
see
hard
you're
one.
still on Twitch.
Yeah. Oh, so
see
you
you're
are still
alive.
around. What
I
happened?
think that's the
What did I
hardest
do?
thing.
Yeah.
You guys are so awkward.
So awkward.
Yeah.
Pickles doesn't have this issue. Pickles like, whatever.
It makes me
He's good.
self-conscious. I've been in that circumstance, and I'm like, I must have said something or done something that they didn't like, but how do I not do it again if I don't know what it is? And
We always like become egocentric about that kind of stuff, but it could just be a timing thing, or they're playing a game that that person really likes, or they just have a new favorite streamer, and that it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we always think like, what did I do wrong? It's usually someone else did something more right than we did something wrong.
Or maybe you yelled at them. You know, maybe it was something.
I don't
that-
usually yell at people, but
No, yeah, not you,
Usually
but
don't
you
yell
know,
at people.
yeah, maybe they left because you got mad or salty about something, or you said something that they don't like. I don't know.
Or maybe they just left because they left.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that's true.
That
Like-
happens.
Yeah,
It's that kind of idea that you can't control other people. You can only control how you react to things. And if somebody chooses to leave, they choose to leave. And no matter what you did, like, unless you're doing something that causes everybody to leave, it's probably not
True.
something worth like dwelling on, you know?
Right.
true. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it. If one person leaves, okay, that who knows? If everyone's leaving, maybe you were like really toxic.
Yeah, maybe it's a problem. Yeah.
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 But like if I see somebody in somebody else's channel that used to hang out with me a lot, it's like, oh, they're just hanging out with my other friend over here. Like that's fine with me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, in some cases that can be really beneficial too. Like, for instance, when we should have maybe a podcast episode on this, because I wanted to do it originally anyway, way back. Bridge Crew. And we have 2 members from Bridge Crew here. So I would like to actually try to get all of Bridge Crew on for an episode at one point, so we can have
luck
like
with that.
a special episode to talk about the value of doing something like Bridge Crew. Because if every streamer was doing something like Bridge Crew, that
Can you explain?
I'm going
me,
to.
but the
yeah.
viewers.
Yeah.
what Virgin-
Yeah.
Keep the viewers.
I actually was
Use
about
me
to.
as a
That's
viewer
me.
surrogate.
Bridge Crew is like, and this is kind of off topic, but it's a good idea to kind of at least introduce it so that there's context. It's a handful of streamers. There's 4 different streamers. So Highland Pickles, Snazzy Bastard, Timberwolf, and Blur Bay. They're 4 Twitch streamers that regularly, as much as they can organize it, come together and do like a co-creation stream, kind of like the 4 of us doing this podcast together, except for theirs is more centered around like an actual stream where they're playing one game together, or they do something absurd, like they play Dark Souls, and one person's in control of movement, one person's in control of attacking, one person's in control of inventory and interaction, and they assign, you know, it's like 4 people playing a single player game, or they'll blindfold someone and they have to play a game and everybody has to talk them through it, stuff like that. So that the value in that is that, going back to what we were originally talking about, the viewers from Snazzy's channel are introduced to the other streamers in Bridge Crew. And sure, maybe they'll go watch Pickles because now they're watching Snazzy, but Pickles started streaming, and so that person's like, "Oh, Highland Pickles is on. I'm going over there. Sorry, Snazzy, I'm gonna go." And they say the thing you don't want any viewer to ever say. I'm leaving your stream to watch someone else. You know. Except,
wow, I don't know what you did, but that was the creepiest thing I've ever heard you say.
I've heard creepier.
but in this circumstance, it doesn't feel as bad. It doesn't sting as much because in some way, because they're so intertwined together, it's like not a bad thing. You're almost not losing a viewer because the viewer is going to watch an extended part of your content creation you've kind of networked with this other streamer, right? So if they go watch Highly and Pickles, that viewer is still kind of like supporting Snazzy. Okay, it's like not a direct support, but over the long term, it's more intertwined. That viewer is still more likely to go watch Snazzy and be a part of the community, the larger community itself. And so,
but the expectation is to like you still have to temper that a bit.
Yeah,
you can't expect that just because, you know, like for example in this case, I can't expect that just because one of Pickles' viewers saw me, that they're not going to be like, oh man, I got to get more of this guy in my life.
Yeah, true.
I might just literally only see them when we do Bridge Crew. That happens.
Yeah.
There's viewers that I only see when we do Bridge Crew or when I'm in that other person's stream who I know they frequent, right? And the expectation there is you can't expect to all of a suddenly take somebody who's possibly a one streamer kind of person, and what I mean by that is they only watch one streamer at a time, and you can't then expect them to magically divide their attention between 3 other streamers, right?
Right. More on an abstract level, though, the success of Timberwolf, Highly and Pickles, and Blurbay around you is good for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you're involved with Bridge Crew, it's naturally a boost for you because you're involved with each other. The more exposure those other people get, the better it is for you. And so, like, you're kind of like all rising tide lifts all boats kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is the same thing with IQ.
Like, true, to an extent, to a
every
lesser extent.
To a lesser extent, maybe it's not as direct, but every time someone gains a modicum of success, we all benefit from it.
It's good for all of us, yeah. And insofar as we are connected with each other, right?
Yeah, Twitch is a small world, right?
Yeah,
That's why. Go ahead.
Stream teams are kind of weird like that though, because I think sometimes people have inappropriate expectations about what a stream team can bring to the table.
It only is as good as you kind of utilize it, right? So if some random person in IQ pops off, that it may not be that helpful, but if you through IQ have created a relationship with another IQ streamer, IQ is just kind of a place to facilitate something like Bridge Crew or this podcast, or and so like you still have to put the effort in and like try to like come up with kind of scheme and make things work, right? So yeah, I kind of get what you guys are saying, but so one of the things I've had streamers complain about, kind of shifting topics, not too far, but I've seen streamers get real emotionally disturbed because chat isn't active, right? Expecting chat to move and be active. Have you guys ever felt like an emotional response, positive or negative? It feels good when chat's moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does.
So
yeah,
it does.
Does it not feel kind of bad when it's dead?
Letters go burr.
Yeah,
it does feel better when chat's moving, but you gotta understand that when you stream, like you can't expect chat to always be moving.
It's a hard one. It's
gonna vary. Yeah, it's gonna be different every stream too, because it just depends on what's going on that day.
And I think there's different games and different genres that tend to have a more active chat than others as well. You know, like I've even seen bigger streamers that have like 70, 80, 100 I almost said patient. What's wrong with me today?
No caffeine?
Viewers.
No, patience is the right word.
I'm sleep deprived. 100 viewers and the chat is like super slow.
Oh yeah.
Just because everyone's just watching the content and enjoying the content.
Yep.
And that's okay. And I think being comfortable with the idea of like, well, sometimes people are literally just watching and they're not talking, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's some days you're interacting with a viewer, and some days you're babysitting their cat.
Okay. Oh, that's fair.
Or
Okay, I see what you're
whatever
saying.
puppy, whatever animal's watching the stream that they left the TV on for, you know.
Still a
I
viewer, right?
it's a
Still a
tough
viewer.
one. I would say obviously you don't want to try to say anything as a streamer. It's not a good idea to like point out the things you don't like about what's happening with your stream. Like oh, where is everybody today? Like these are like the common ones that I hear. I guess no one wants to watch my stream today. It's like I'm watching. I'm not near my keyboard, but I'm watching you complain that no one's watching, and I'm here watching.
Well, that's back to expectations. That's the other thing. You have to kind of expect that people are paying attention, even if they're not actively chatting.
Or the
Right?
viewer count's a liar. That's a big
Or
one.
yeah, or the
Big
viewer count's a liar, or you know.
It says you have 2 viewers, but really like
But
6
no, you actually
people,
have
10
more, yeah.
people. Yeah, it's
And
always the case. It's always the case.
you have to expect that anything you do while on camera is going to be seen, and that, to an extent that's true even if it's not seen live, right? There's a VOD that hangs around for 2 weeks, or there's a clip that somebody makes. So whatever you do on camera is reliably going to be seen by at least someone, right? So yeah, if you have somebody who's watching you, you know, in the background, kind of as you stream on in the background, maybe, or maybe they're even paying close attention, but they don't want to say anything. Like, imagine that person then has to sit there and you're going like, "Man, chat's dead today. Where is everybody?"
Yeah.
I mean, that would make me feel bad as a viewer. Like, well, I'm here, but maybe I don't want to talk. You know?
Yeah, it's
That
that
made
idea
me
of-
actually
of-
leave.
And then they leave.
Yeah,
And then,
Yeah.
And then you wonder why they don't show up to your stream anymore.
Yeah. True.
It's the pressuring of lurkers to participate, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people I know that are just happy lurkers, and you don't want to feel called out, even if it's not directly. Honestly, there's a couple people who do it tastefully, but by and large, like usually, if I'm gonna call it the lurkers, it's literally just like, lurkers, thanks for lurking. Like, I appreciate you being here, you know. But like people
Yeah.
who like shout out to the lurkers more specifically, or try to be like, lurkers, I know you're in here, come say something. You know, it just makes me feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So having that expectation that if someone's watching, that they are interacting directly is unfair to the lurker, and it's not a good place for you to put your mindset.
It's
to.
also
Yeah,
kind of
and-
like
and so
I
this is
deserve.
why-
Go ahead.
The best way to get me to leave your stream is for you to open up your viewer panel and find somebody by me, especially by name. At that point, I'm like, you didn't.
Oh, let's see who's here
anything.
today. Let's see who's here in the chat. Okay, Snazzy Bastard. Hey, Snazzy. I hope you're doing well out there. Let's see who else we got in the. Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable. I want to leave right now. Like
Yeah.
I literally like. I want to exit stage right.
Okay, so leveling this up a little bit. Sure, chat's not active. I've also seen streamers complain that they're not getting enough tips, which is yeah.
It's so entitled. No, screw
Yeah.
that.
Well, all of these are really entitled.
I'm feeling.
I deserve chat.
Secondhand cringe.
Where is everybody?
Is there, like,
I
one word
deserve.
for that?
Yeah. You guys are subbing. You guys need to stop subbing and start tipping. Too many gift subs. Stop giving so many gift subs. You know, just tip instead. Too much
There's
back.
a tactful way to do that.
Sure, there is.
but, like-
But even that, I don't. Okay, we can talk about this. Maybe this is another episode. But I'm not. I'm kind of more in the place of not telling viewers how to live their life according to how they want to support. If they want to tip, then they tip. That's kind of my view. I don't know about this. Like, it's okay to be like, hey, you know, when you tip, it like actually is a bigger level of support than subbing. But you can do whatever you want. It's more like a line gets crossed when people are like, God, come on, guys, stop subbing so much. Tip instead.
It's
You
so
know,
weird
I'm
to
so
think
glad
that anybody
I've
would
never heard anyone actually say that. I'm sure it happens because I've seen clips of
Oh, it
people
happens.
doing crazy stuff like that. But like, I'm so
Yeah.
glad I don't watch anybody who does.
And even like with things like backseating, especially if you play a game where there's a ton of backseating, you know,
Oh,
you know, like your expectations need to kind of be in line if you go play. What are some of the games you know you're gonna get backseat on?
Hollow Knight, Subnautica,
Souls,
Yeah.
Souls,
There's a lot of them.
Undertale.
Dark Souls.
Yeah. So
The underwater scary game.
Subnautica.
That's
Yeah.
Subnautica.
Subnautica,
Yeah.
thank you. I don't know why I lost the name.
Listen, if there's one reliable thing, as Subnautica being my favorite video game, if there's one reliable thing I can tell you about Subnautica is people cannot keep their mouth shut, and therefore you have to expect that. You have to expect that in certain.
Put the chat in emote only mode.
Oh my god, that doesn't help.
They
Then
fix
just
your
post, like,
expectations. Yeah, and then they do,
And they
but
just-
then they have to use text to speech in order to
Yeah,
spoil. So now at least you're making some money, you know.
it's pineapple emojis all the way, but it's one of those things like when you have to expect, right, that's a level of expectation, right? If you're playing any kind of video game on the internet, you have to know that 90% of your viewers will not read your tags. They won't.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
will
they
blurt,
won't.
They will blurt stuff out because they think they're being helpful.
Tags.
And that's just it's one of those things that you have to like be ready for, right? And how you handle somebody who backseats, somebody who, spoils is just as important as how you set up for like warning people not to do that, right? Yeah, putting in your tags, putting in your title, having your mods there, that's important. But then like when it inevitably happens, right? You have to be ready for that. You have to expect that inevitably somebody will come in and just blurt out a really important plot point that you wish they'd not said.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're
just
not
how it is.
thinking. They're just not thinking. A lot of
They're
them,
not.
they're just not even thinking. They have no idea that they're spoiling something
Or
for you.
they think they're being helpful. They think that
Yeah,
they're helping
yeah.
you by providing you
Yeah.
information.
Oh,
that
I'm
you don't
sorry. Like, yeah.
Chat mentioned this. Most spoiling isn't, with an unkind heart.
not malicious.
Occasionally, yeah, you'll get people that are just jerks, and they can
Yeah.
get
Well,
hammered.
especially the ones that come in and do it with movie spoilers, have nothing to do with what you're playing. Or like the season finale for a show. That's malicious, right? Like
What's his
that's
sled?
obviously.
Like what?
Yeah, it's like no one's even talking about that. Why are you telling us that person dies? That kind of thing.
Yeah, backseaters are mostly just people who are excited that you're playing the game that they love, so they can't contain themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I have a hard time not backseating when
you
people
Have to...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying I have a hard time not like trying to give input that doesn't feel like backseating sometimes. I did it with Eacher Meets when she was playing Ocarina of Time the other day. I'm like, okay, here's like I'm trying not to backseat, but I want to say everything is a puzzle. like everything you get, you have to think about using it soon. Like they don't give you things for no reason. It's like, is that a spoiler?
Sonny doesn't backseat your game. He backseats the stream. It's like your mic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You should be brighter on camera.
Why are you in 1080p? Yeah.
You have a little bit of an echo.
Yeah. True.
You should
True.
do something about that.
True. Okay, so one of the things I had someone bring up to me recently was shifting topics a little bit, mods not being active enough. Is there an expectation for mods as a streamer? Like, should we have expectations with our mods?
Are you paying them?
Not usually. So let's start with that.
Then no.
I disagree, but not completely. Snap.
Okay.
Like,
All right, let's dig in.
This is like on you as the streamer, but like whatever people you trust to be your mods, they need to be people who understand how you want to conduct your stream.
Oh, I agree.
And
With that part, I agree.
And that's kind of it as far as I'm concerned. Like, as long as your mods are being role model enough for chat.
Okay,
yeah, it's
behavior. Now, does that include them showing up on like a certain amount of mod time?
No.
Well, no, because like for me, like using a personal example, right? Pickles mods in my channel, but I also know like Pickles, has a life. He might be drawing something. He might be working on something. I can't expect him to drop everything he's doing, especially
What
if
if
I'm
they
gonna
never
be
show up
doing
again?
something silly like an 8-hour cast, right? I can't expect him to be there for all 8 hours of that. He's got things to do.
What if they don't show up though? What if it's been like months and then you see them in other people's channels?
I'd probably ask them, because you don't want to just like take away someone's modding privileges or like shame them, but just try to set the like, is this something you want to continue to do? I'd love to still have you. I think that's reasonable. Of course, I also have the the benefit of living with someone who's one of my mods. I can shame that person in participating. I think it also kind of depends a little bit on how many mods you have and what kind of community you have too. Because I know there are some streamers that like mod a ton of people. So I think the expectations there tend to be a bit lower. And I don't know if I'm not saying one way is better than another, but if I have a very select few people who are mods who I generally rely on to be present and awesome and reliable from that perspective. So I think it depends a little bit on what you expect from your mods and what resources you have from your mods too, how to handle that. Just being consistent though is most important there in terms of your expectations.
And if you're
And I think
paying your
also, like,
mods,
well,
that
if you're
changes
Well,
everything.
that's a totally different story,
Yeah.
right?
if
If you're
paying them,
paying
then
someone to
you're
be there,
engaging
yes.
them. So
That's a
a job.
contract, right?
that's a job. Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Is like the contract becomes clear when there's that clear exchange. Like I'm paying you to be here.
Yeah.
It's less clear when you're just like, hey, do you want to help me out? And you're here a lot, and then all of a sudden you're not, and then you're not. But I see you over there helping them out, and you're not helping me out. What's the deal? I'm trying not to get my feelings hurt, kind of thing.
Jealous
Well, I guess
lover.
I just
And I think it's the whole thing is you have to like for a lot of us, right? Our mods are also other streamers, right? For a lot of us, that's the case. A lot
True.
of our mods are streamers, right? So like the baseline that should be an expectation of like, well, they might be streaming or they might be doing something stream related, or there are people who we all know who mod for a lot of different communities. That's just the thing that they enjoy doing, right? And maybe there's a fire in another channel that they're putting out, right? I can't expect them to just hang out in my corner of Twitch forever. So
Or maybe
I think
they
the
like them
expectation
better than
is,
you.
if they're a volunteer army, as it were, then yeah, volunteer is the key word. Right?
I also
That's
think it's kind of important to kind of point out that the people who tend to be like, there's different kinds of people, right? There's people that are like they're like built to be a mod. Like there's like people that are just like really great at modding and they mod a bunch of chats and they pay very close attention. They take it very seriously. And then there's people that want to mod because they want to seem helpful.
They want a green sword.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and so maybe they're over there in that other chat being real active because they've got more viewers and that's where the cool kids are hanging out right now. And if they'll come back
Or
maybe when the cool
it
kids
could be
show's over.
the other person's playing a game that they're more interested in that night than your game that you're playing, right? So
Yeah.
could be it.
I don't depend on my mods for anything, so I guess that's why like I don't care if they're not active.
That's
you know
a
what I mean?
great way to look at it. That's
Like-
just run your own stream and if
You have to be able to moderate yourself as well. Yeah.
if somebody like helps you out, awesome. Right? If
My
like
mods are pretty much there. Like if I'm playing a game that freaks out, if I tab out, they're there for like shout outs during those games specifically. Otherwise I'm the one like timing people out or
right.
shouting people out or whatever needs to be done. That's usually on me. And the mods are just kind of there in case the game is annoying.
Yep. Yeah.
And also, like, unless you're the kind of streamer who actively has 1, 2, 300 people in chat, you have to again expectations. You have to be able to moderate your own chat. You have to expect that it's going to be points where all the other mods are busy and you have to moderate your chat. If you have 300 viewers, well, first of all, congrats. This probably doesn't apply to you. You probably are going to have somebody who's a regular enough mod that they'll always be there or most of the time, right? Because like the more people you have, you meet people who are going to be more regular and who mods who will be around the majority of the time. But for somebody who's starting out 2 viewers, yeah, you're probably not going to have a dedicated mod. Probably not. I mean, you might be lucky. Maybe like Meat said, maybe your partner is your mod or something, right? So
Yeah.
if you're lucky in that way, that's cool. But most streamers will not have that luxury.
True.
There's this theme that keeps coming up during this podcast that like I keep hearing like, oh, I see this person over here, this person's being more active over there, and it makes me feel bad. I don't know why, but that's standing out to me a lot right now, and I think I don't know, you just can't expect people to be tied to you at your hip like they not a single person is going to show up as soon as you hit live and then like every time you do it and stay there for the entire stream.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a ridiculous expectation of another human being, because people do stuff. Like you're isolated in your room for 3-4 hours at a time. Like people do stuff, like they might have a dentist appointment, they might be doing something, they might not want to hang out, like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought to just
I
expect.
don't even have that
people to be
expectation
around.
of my partner. Like she could literally be watching another stream and I wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
I
that's
don't,
fine.
I don't
And that's fine.
My
don't
my
think
wife only watches stream when she's on stream with me.
And I guess
Which
as
is
someone
fair.
who's like an anxious person who's pretty negative about themselves without a lot of hard work, it's not even that I consciously am like, oh, I feel bad about XYZ. It's more of an unconscious thing that you have to recognize and work to not feed into, if that makes sense, right? It's that whole negative self-talk, negative like feelings about yourself. It's learning how to reframe that situation of, oh, this person's not here anymore, or this person's at this other stream, or, this person unfollowed me. Like, it's okay and it's valid to feel bad about that, but you need to work on altering your expectations and realizing that ultimately it's not their job to like you. And it may not even be about you. It could be totally about them. But sometimes it takes a little bit of work to remind yourself of that if you're someone who automatically goes to, oh my God, they hate me, which I am definitely one of those people, right? It's part of my psyche. And it takes work to change that expectation, change that perception so that, you don't let it eat you away or make you feel bad, because you don't deserve to feel bad. If that makes sense.
It's main character syndrome. It's like everyone
I
else is
don't
just a
think it's that.
supporting
I think it's
cast.
just like self-hatred.
All right, let's
It's just,
talk.
I think it's just important not to tie your self-worth into who's showing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a hard one. 'Cause people.
It is.
Yeah.
It is hard.
You have to find
I know
you have to
it's
find
dumb.
self-worth in your own stream and your own content to
Yeah.
otherwise you're destined to forever be chasing that one viewer who will then leave, and then you'll be chasing another viewer who will then leave, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
All right, I want to flip
I
the
know,
coin for the last 10 minutes or so, so we can wrap this up. So, what are some good ways expectations can work in your favor? I'm just gonna kind of put this out there and then and summarize. Do like we'll end on this, and you guys can each give your own thoughts on this as well. So when expectations can work in your favor, something that I've been trying to work on with people in IQ and different people, strategies for growth. And I think this is where there's a streamer that just expects to grow, and then there's the streamer who knows that they have a strategy they can employ, and they should expect the strategy to work. And so if you're not growing because your strategy is wrong or flawed, then you can do something about it. And so if you find yourself like just complaining, then your expectations might be like in the wrong spot. Rather than when something isn't working right, it should give you a key or a place to kind of look at what's weak. What can you fix? So expectations for like growing your stream can't just be built on I'm worthy of growing on Twitch. I should be this big streamer. They should be like, okay, I'm like, for instance, if you have a good title, you have good stream content, you have a good microphone, you've got a decent stream setup. You've got a good stream title. You've put yourself in a good category for visibility. You're top 3 in a category, so to speak, in a good category. Not not like 3 speedrunners and then like someplace where people are going to click and kind of stop by, and then you can kind of expect, I'm streaming for 3 hours, I should get 1 to 3 follows. That would be a good metric. Like, I'm live for 3 hours. I got a good title. If I'm streaming for 3 hours and there's nothing, no new follows, something is weak at that point. Well, maybe I'm in the wrong game category. Like if everything else is good, or like you go look at your VOD and you're like, my mic wasn't on. Like this is a way you can kind of try to figure out what's going wrong with your stream, right? Maybe you're in the right place, the right time. People are clicking on your stream, but you have no mic, and people don't want to tell you. There's I don't know why, but people don't tell the streamer something's wrong with their stream. Usually, though, for most of us, it's like we're not in the right place at the right time, right? If I've with the good strategy, you can have expectations and use those expectations as a tool for checking that you're doing the right thing, rather than just complaining that it's not working for you. So that's kind of my take on this. I want you guys to kind of have your expectations in the right place. Like you should expect to grow your stream if you're making good decisions. So like that's a good place to put your expectations, especially if your expectations are not being met. It lets you look at what's happening and make changes to what you're doing. That's the best way to kind of, I don't know, flip this script on this and try to say, hey, expectations can be a powerful way for you to be critical of what you're doing.
Also, I think with when it comes to like the the RNG nature of streaming, right? The entertainment industry, as it were. It does benefit you to sometimes, whatever your baseline is, take it down one more notch, right? Expect just a little bit less than your baseline.
Yeah.
I promise you won't be disappointed.
Yeah. Okay. So Ichimeets, you have anything you want to wrap this up with?
I can share some of my recent experience. I think one of the things that we struggle with too is appropriately setting expectations for your situation at the time. So like this year, the first couple months in particular of this year, I was not able to stream much due to illness and like all this other stuff. And you need to set that expectation of, okay, my butt's not in the chair, my camera's not on. You're gonna see some stagnation, and that's okay. Right. So I think setting expectations for what you're putting in and what's going on with your life is also really important too. So I didn't let myself be disappointed when my numbers dropped because I expected them to. Right. So I think conversely, if you're in a situation where you have to step back or you have to switch things up where it can negatively affect your numbers, expect that and be okay with that. Even if that means that you're changing you're rebranding or you're totally category switching or something like that, setting that expectation of like, well, right now this may lead to something that lowers my expectations with the hope that it maintains my mental and physical wellness, or it ultimately leads to growth with that rebranding, but realizing that there can be some negative expectations when things change for a while.
Pickles?
Yeah. I mean, like right now I'm kind of in a similar situation to what Meats described, so I'd echo what she said because I haven't been streaming for regularly for like over a month now, and I knew that doing that, like, I would lose followers, my numbers would go down and this and that and whatever, and it's kind of like having that expectation and knowing it would happen made it so it didn't give me anxiety when it happened. So yeah,
I agree.
just kind of understand make sure you're always looking at the big picture about everything, and don't try as hard as you can not to freak out when things happen, which if you expect them to happen, it'll be easier to deal with when it does happen.
True. Okay. So I just want everybody to know that we appreciate you watching and listening to this. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to...
No, it's my turn. I do this.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
We're going to stick around for a bit for Twitch chat to hang out with you guys and answer some questions and talk with you. But if you're watching this, I appreciate, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or watching us on YouTube. So yeah, hang out. You guys hang out in Twitch chat. We'll hang out with you guys. We're ending the recording at this point, though, for everybody else. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye. I get to leave now.